All right. You guys got to let me know if the sound is a little weird. As I hooked up a new rig and I went through like 4 different cameras, and none of the cameras have the drivers or the software or the utility software to run on the new MacBooks. But the MacBooks are dope. You just can't run anything on them. But they're dope, but you can't run anything on them. God dang it. Damn you, Tim Cook. Anyway, yeah. Okay, let's see what's going on. We have, I need to make that bigger. Let's see if I can do that. I got to make the chat bigger so I can see it. All right. Over on Theta, we have CC Brown, Gordon Bennett, Crypto Steve-O. What up? Cool. All right. That's fine. That looks fine. Okay, let me see. Audio. Everyone have audio? I think we got it. I haven't commented on a while. Oh, what's up, Steve? What's up? Okay. And then on the YouTubes, Steve, Alan, Suze, Adam, Andreas, what's up? Florida Dan in the house. Barno, to that pipeline. Timothy, Ella Paul, what's going on? Mark, Scorpion, Debbie, Joe Fernandez, ¿Qué onda? Johnny Mides, where are you at? Johnny's always somewhere fancy. Casperia Cloud. Expat Matt, Tim, Brenda, Amy, and Frank. Cool, man. Okay, I'm also, I put Daedalus on a new computer, so I completely separated any crypto stuff from any broadcast stuff so that no cunning individuals could get in and pull some shenanigans. We don't want shenanigans. So anyway, that's sorted out. Yay. Brady, what's going on? Bob. Hello. All right. If you guys have, so some people ask me, what if I just want to say something about crypto? If I don't have a question, but I want to say something. Well, this is a non-monetized channel. You can say whatever you want. Ain't no repercussions here, bro. So if you want to say something, let me get over to the other ones, to the other cool stuff. If you want to say something, just put thought, colon, and then whatever you want to say. Just don't make it nasty. Well, it can be nasty. Just don't make it specifically nasty towards some individual or like, rife with profanity or something that I can broadcast. But like, hello, nerds. Well, that's a fair statement. We're nerds. It is what it is. Anyway, yeah. Arjun, what's going on? Anyway, okay. So everything looks like it's cool. Bop. Too much food over the last 48 hours. Piglet. You piglet. Yes, that too is a statement. All right. And on that beautiful statement, why don't we go to our non-commercial break? Oh, real quick. Let's see. News. I'm going to be doing another show with Emil and Jeff, Emil Kanowski, Jeffrey Snyder. So make sure you guys are following Making Sense. Although I don't think they did one this week because of the holiday, but they usually break their episode up into 3 mini episodes, and he starts releasing them Thursday or Friday. They run throughout the weekend. They're great. So that should be mandatory. Brain. The other thing, Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. It's like 7 hours. It's kind of, you need it. Just play it in the background as you're doing other stuff and just let it kind of absorb into your brain. And I would do it a few times so that you can kind of input that stuff into your brain box. It's pretty important. So do that. Other than that, I think we have another thing coming. So we're going to have Kabir from NewNet, the head of NewNet. We did a show with the co-founder of Flare Network. We did a show with the founder / co-founder / Marcelo and Mario of Singularity DAO, and that's a good play. I think that's a play that's going to make people very happy. And so we're gonna work with Kabir, and the goal is we'll do a show with Kabir, and as they drop these verticals underneath AGIX, eventually I'd love to get Bing Gortzel on here, but Understandably, he's solving, the problems left in humanity's future. So I'll let him continue to do that. Yeah, that's right. Smooth, honey-laden voice. All right, Krabby, what's going on? Blue. Snow movement, AGIX. Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Just in case nobody know, do not move your tokens because you don't want to get jacked out of this, out of the new net drop. So if you have AGIX, don't move it from any wallet that you're in, because if you move it, you will not get you may disqualify yourself from the rewards, because what they do is at any time in your wallet, they look at the lowest point. So if you had 10,000 AGIX and you took it all out for 1 second and put it right back in, the lowest point that you had it was 0. So guess what you're going to get paid on? 0. Do not move your AGIX. Period. Full stop. Wait till they get through. Today is the day actually where the token, I guess it converts. You can spit out your Cardano, compliant AGIX token, your Singularity Net token, but you don't want to do that. So don't mess with that yet. Everybody leave your stuff where it is, but it is good for the future because for staking and things like that. Anyway, that's today. So we'll talk about a few things. Let's do our commercial, non-commercial, commercial, non-commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
Hey, this is the Profit with Nick Black. It's time to chit chat. You know nothing about blockchain. We here to fix that. You want the news on them new stocks? This where you get that. So go and grab you a nice chair. It's time to sit back and talk to Profit. Hey, you talking to the Profit? Hey. We talking condos and nice clothes and driving Lambos. I remember them night codes, we couldn't stand those. We tried to drive on them high roads, but had to stay low. Now there's solutions to hard bills we couldn't pay for. I talked to Profit to get some profit, we couldn't change the topic. If it's a stock and I need a cop it, I'll wait for him to drop it. Ain't no option, let's get it poppin', we chillin' in the drop. I need some crypto, put it in my pocket, by any means I rock. This is the Profit with Nick Black, it's time to chit chat. You know nothing about blockchain, we here to fix that. You want the news on them new stocks, this where you get that. So go and grab you a nice chair, it's time to sit back and talk to Profit. Hey, you talking to the Profit. Hey, you talking to the Profit.
Okay, we're back here. Now, I'm going to try one other thing. We've tried a variety of background music because one thing we haven't done, so you guys are my test audience. One thing we haven't done is figured out what the correct noise level for the music is. So they have background music now in StreamYard, which is super cool. We just don't know. So I'm going to put it at 30. You tell me if 30 is too much. I don't know if it is. You want it to be there. You don't want it to just be dead space. But you don't want it to be like, wah, wah, all up in your brain box. So tell me up or down. Show of hands. Simon, what's going on, Simon? It's going to be red days. It's going to be red days and red days and red days. We're still so early. You should be doing infrastructure investing right now. This is all infrastructure investing. And you just have to, you want me to go down with it, Dan? Is it too much? New background music. Blue wants new background music. Well, we don't want to upset him. The other ones, I'll be honest with you, the other ones suck, man. I've got daydreaming. Listen to this crap. I don't even know what's going on here. This is like a serial killer's elevator to hell or something. Feeding the ducks. Let's see what that is. Oh, I don't know. I guess it's not terrible. just as like a little musical background type thing. I don't know. I don't know if feeding the ducks is good. Let's go to 25. There, that's 25. That's down a little bit. Down a little bit for Dan. All right. So down a little bit for Dan. New music for Plu. Anybody else? Any special requests? Everything else I charge for. Oh, here's the thought. Let's see. I was going back and listening to some of your broadcasts the last couple of weeks, and can't remember if you said something was going on with Algorand. Was it something sketchy? No, nothing sketchy with Algorand. They're completely above board. They're just boring. They're dull. They're not interesting. Their marketing sucks. They're buying some like space in Times Square to advertise how clean energy they are. Bro, no one cares. That whole clean energy thing, that's a dummies argument for dummies. People that say that, you got to walk away. You got to, just like Jordan Peterson said, if you're talking to people and they're not listening, stop talking to them. Stop. You don't have to save anyone. That was you know what? That was 2017, 18, 19. Saving people. Listen, you should get into crypto. Crypto's good. That's over with. People ask me about crypto. If they're not paying me, I tell them nothing. They say, should I get into the cryptos? Nope. What? Nah. It's probably not for you. What do you mean? If it was for you, it'd have been for you. You wouldn't be asking questions. You'd be reading and investing. So yeah, nothing sketchy with Algorand other than they have terrible marketing. This is to you, Barry. You're a very nice guy, but honestly, you and your whole marketing team at Algorand are terrible. Now I can say this because Barry's never going to listen to this. Why? Because they're all very arrogant over there. That being said, they're building cool stuff. So you need to own it. It needs to be, I think it should be part of your infrastructure investment, but you got to make sure it makes sense. And also, you only have 100% to invest. This is like when you're driving on a racetrack. If anybody knows about race car driving, when you're driving on a racetrack and you have 100% four tires, that's 100% of your traction. Well, if you hit the brakes and the weight shifts to the front of the car, more of that percentage goes towards the front, less from the back, right? The car's leaning forward. So it's the same thing in investing. You only have 100% of your portfolio to invest. You can't invest 100% here and 100 here and 100 here and 100 there. You can't chase all these things. So I would reduce your thinking or have a small amount that you invest in these like lottery tickets. That's what we say, and scalp on a more regular basis, the lottery tickets, the stuff that you believe less in, you should be scalping. Does that make sense? Stress relief, what up? And Il3 Randon. Oh, it's a B. Il Brandon, right? B or I Brandon, and like the L is the, got it. All right. Steve, what's up, man? So, the Para wallet, although it's kind of garbage. Look, you're not going to make much staking Algorand, so I wouldn't really worry about that. And also, just as a general rule for everyone, don't be chasing staking so much that you guys lose your tokens or do something silly, fat thumb it, whatever. It's not worth it. The only staking that's really worth staking is staking Singularity DAO, staking NewNet, probably staking the Looks token, but don't buy it right now. If you're stuck in it, stay in it. If you don't own it, don't buy it. Wait, in about a month, the price of that thing's going to be 50 cents probably, and you'll be able to lean into it if you believe in Looks Rare. But that's a lottery ticket times like 75. So just be very careful. What info would you give to a 14-year-old? Oh, Airman Eats. Okay. Well, if you're Airman Eats, my guess is, are you 14 or do you know a 14-year-old? Airman, I'm guessing you're in the Air Force. But anyway, so here's what I would do. I would go and I would read the Bitcoin white paper. You won't understand it, but don't worry, because no one else does either. But you'll get a little bit of it. I would read it a few times. Then I would go and read. Andreas Antonopoulos wrote a book about Bitcoin, and I would read his book. You kind of want to start with Bitcoin and work your way out from there. Then I would read Andreas Antonopoulos' book on Ethereum. And well, cool. So here's your source, Andreas Antonopoulos. So you're going to read the white paper. You're not going to understand it. Then you're going to read, because you probably will understand a lot of what Andreas is saying in his two books. He did a book on Ethereum and he did a book on Bitcoin. They're both really good. The rest of the stuff, most of the people that are writing in the space are writing so that you go, wow, this person's so smart. They don't really, it's kind of a way for them to kind of act all big. It's not so much information like, go watch the Netflix. Netflix did like a 45-minute show or maybe just short of an hour called Banking on Bitcoin. That's pretty cool as well. And yeah, that's where I would start. You got to start with the old seminal document, and that is the Bitcoin white paper. And then even if you don't understand it, doesn't matter. At least you've read it and no one else has. I bet even among the people here, if you're being honest, who here has read the Bitcoin white paper? It's like 8.5 pages. Probably 3 people. So you should read it. I was asking that. I was introduced to a bunch of people and they were like, oh, crypto. I go, who here's read the white paper? They're like, what? I go, what? How are you in crypto and you haven't read the Bitcoin white paper? Yes. Or you could listen to it. Yeah, that's another thing. You can listen to it on YouTube. But bro, that's mandatory. So anyway, yeah, and you should either read it or listen to it and read it. Either way, yeah, it's important. It brings you back home. Now, is Bitcoin, let's go to the markets and let's talk about this. Is Bitcoin what it set out to be? Well, no, and that's okay. Like things don't have to be what in the smoke? No, we want it by market cap. Look, developers will create a software or technology, an iteration of technology. They'll create a software, and when they do that, we humans, we will use it the best way we see fit. We'll use it to make our life better, whether that means like trying to create more value or flipping or selling or swapping or buying, widgets or whatever. So we will do that the best way we can. And that's not always in line with what the developers or the original coders, designers, the thought police, that's not probably what they had in mind. It's not always that way. People just use stuff the way they use it. So yeah, let's see, 14-year-old with a budget. What would you recommend? I can't recommend. You've got to just learn about crypto right now. You should be buying nothing and reading everything. That's most people, honestly. That's probably the advice that everybody should have. Okay, so is Bitcoin a peer-to-peer payments network? Not really. There's different qualities of money, right? Money can be a store of value, which is kind of what Bitcoin is. Kind of. That's like the most. Is it a unit of account? Is it a medium of exchange? It's not really a unit of account unless it was used on some kind of global scale and people were pricing things in Bitcoin terms instead of the other way around. We don't say it's $39,000 to one Bitcoin. We say, how much is a Bitcoin in dollars, right? So we're not there yet. You would have to see Bitcoin everywhere, kind of snaking its little pervasive head, in every country where you could use it to extinguish debt, right? And that's what money is. Money is anything that extinguishes debt, right? So then Bitcoin would be money. Bitcoin's not money. Bitcoin, the way I look at it is I look at Bitcoin as this thing that when you're uncomfortable with the world, if you think people are pulling scams, if you think that politicians are sketch, which they are, if you think governance is lacking, when you see all of these things, when you see bad behavior in central banking, politics, like all the way across the board, then what happens is you start to go, I want to get a little bit of value out of the system. Just take some value units which those things which extinguish debt, right? Any money is that which extinguishes debt. You can't really define it too much more critically than that because it's kind of an abstract term. Currency can be money, but not all currency is money, and money doesn't equal currency, right? So money extinguishes debt. Currency is some value unit issued by a government or entity that may have many of the capabilities of money, but it's not necessarily. Currency and money are not the same, right? Currency units, that's why you say currency units. Money can be a variety of things. So is Bitcoin money? It can be used to extinguish debt a little bit in some places, not everywhere. So no, it's not really. So is it a store of value? Yeah. Is it a stable store of value? No way. Not at all. As you've seen, it's down 3.16% today. For those of you staking, for those of you parking Bitcoin like at Nexo and you're getting like 5% a year, you just saw all of your gains go away since yesterday afternoon. Poof, gone. And that's why another reason why I say don't go and fight your way to these places where you can lend and receive and staking, and just be careful and go slow. And I want to comment on that. Michael Saylor is a very intelligent guy. Michael Saylor has a couple of very tragic flaws. One, he seems to have some kind of weird self-esteem issue where he needs everyone to think he's really, really intelligent. And you saw this very obviously when he was on Lex Fridman, and Lex kept slowing him down and said, okay, well, what is this? Well, what is this? Well, what is this? You don't have to big word it. I wish Michael would just learn that you can talk like a human. And I think he does that because he hasn't learned from Elon. When you listen to Elon Musk, he doesn't bludgeon you with 17 syllable words or very kind of inside baseball terms to sound like a jerk. He talks to you like a human. Now, I don't agree with everything that Elon does, and he's a terrible businessman. He's visionary. He's awesome. But as a businessman, you can't say he's bad. You can certainly say all of his at-bats have not worked out. He's been bankrupt many, many, many times. But you know what? He's a visionary. He's very intelligent. He's an engineer, and he swings for the fences. So I'm okay with the things that I don't like about Elon. I can overlook those for the things that I do like, that he pushes humanity forward. Michael Saylor is not pushing humanity forward. Michael Saylor is talking his book. His book is Bitcoin. His whole thing about money being the highest form of energy is weak and abstract, and it ignores a bunch of the realities. He does not understand inflation, not at all, not even a little bit, because anyway, but he's a really intelligent guy. So, and I can separate the two. I think what he's doing is quasi, like fringe illegal. When he talks up Bitcoin to everyone that he can see, please buy it. You got to buy it. You got to own it. You got to the whole thing. And then MicroStrategies has become a de facto Bitcoin ETF. Might as well be. It might as well be a trust. They buy Bitcoin. They buy it into their treasury. That's pretty much their only business function. Their actual business, offering in business intelligence, they're not doing nothing. They have like 0 clients, bro. And so he's become the orange-pilled, laser-eyed dude that goes and talks Bitcoin. You got to do it. You got to do it. I'm smart. I use industry terms. I'll talk about, planes and I'll throw some cool anecdotal stuff from history, and you'll go, wow, this guy's so learned. I should buy Bitcoin. And his arguments are very waffling and all over the place, but he talks up Bitcoin, which his company owns. He buys in his company, publicly traded company, by the way, which is a little bit weird for a fiduciary. Then he borrows against treasury funds. They borrow to buy more Bitcoin. They borrow against Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin. Well, what does that rhyme with? Compulsive gambling, right? And so there's a lot of things that I think are incredibly dubious. I'm dubious Michael Saylor's intentions. He said, "Whoa, it's clear it's not as long as it's not a security, I can talk about, Bitcoin. So Lex basically held him to the coals and said, yeah, but if Bitcoin does good, MicroStrategy does good, and you own most of MicroStrategy. So not only do you own Bitcoin, but you own you're the head, the top equity owner of MicroStrategy. And if you talk up Bitcoin and MicroStrategy owns nothing but Bitcoin, you're talking your book. How is that kosher? And he just dodged it for like 30 minutes. He just dodged it, and finally Lex just let it go. So Michael Saylor is a very interesting dude. I think it's far too abstract to call money energy and leave it at that. And he's like, well, it oscillates on different. Shut up, dude. Shut up. How about talking to humans like they're humans instead of trying to gloss everyone's eyes over and be like, oh my God, this guy's on a different wavelength. And when I hear people quote him, I realize they don't know anything about anything. And they just feel like, well, he's smart. He said this, I'll say this. Therefore, by proxy, I'm vicariously smart. It's like we're smart. Me and Saylor, we think energy. I think Bitcoin is energy. When I hear people say that, I know that they don't have their own opinion and they haven't really taken the time to think about it. That's what I think about that. I'm glad you asked me that, Dan, because I was having a discussion with someone else about it, and they were miffed, but for completely different reasons. On the other side of it, because I can separate the two, I like Michael Saylor. I think he has some very cool anecdotal knowledge. I mean, he went to MIT. My college roommate went to MIT. He's a professor there. So I'm not education hating. I'm not anything. But he tries to bully people with words, and then like, oh, let me reduce these words to simple words you can understand. You're like, shut up, dude. We know what you're saying. You're just being dickish about it, right? Like, just talk to people like they're humans. It doesn't impress people. It's like when software engineers use insider software terms and go, and they get all frustrated when they have to explain it. Well, I'm not coding 18 hours a day, dummy. So maybe say it the way I can understand it, or I'm not going to cut you a check. All right, let's see. Thoughts? I'd rather you didn't do that, man. I'd rather not. Let's look at it. I'm not going to. 90% dry powder. Actually, I don't disagree. Until after Fed meeting. Okay, you know what the Fed's going to do. They're going to raise rates. There's no magic there. And it's going to be a big bump. Probably another 50 spot. So I'm not saying anything you're doing is good or bad. I'm just saying this is my thinking. 90% cash is probably a good idea, although I would be probably leaning into certain things. I'm going 30% Bitcoin, cool. 30 ADA, I think that's too heavy. Cardano, 15 ETH, 12 AGIX, 12 SDAO. That's too heavy. That's too heavy. Every one of those positions. If that was me, that's way too heavy in all of those. Don't get recency bias and confirmation bias and get stuck in a small handful of assets that are all, for instance, AGIX and SDAO, they're going to travel together. SDAO is going to be a little bit freer, but I think that's too heavy. I think that's too heavy Ethereum, which we're going to talk about in a second. I think 25 to 30 for me seems about right. Bitcoin. The only reason I'm holding a big chunk of ADA is because ADA went up so much that I have a disproportionate amount and I'm just staking. I don't sell crypto. I've never sold crypto ever because we're not there yet. We're not 5 years from now, but future I will borrow against. So I would just be careful that you're not leaning too heavy. I would have a more even distribution among the protocol layers. Just a dummy bucket. And again, not telling anybody to do this, but a dummy's way to enter would be, a smart dummy would go, let's go 25 Bitcoin. Let's go the next 50% of the portfolio spread evenly among all of the protocol layer assets. And then you have probably 10% stablecoin. And again, you're dollar cost averaging into all these positions. It's not like one shot done. And then you have a little bit of money for lottery tickets, I believe. Let's see, that would leave 10%. That'd be 5% lottery tickets, 10% for your AI or the kind of that iterative approach towards artificial general intelligence, and those plays would consist of a variety of them, which I will real quickly highlight. Those would be AGIX as the heavy weighted one, Fetch as the second heavy weighted one, Singularity DAO and NewNet, and then as they release Rejuve, Mindplex, things like that, you could add those to the bucket. That's how I do that. Okay. All right. So on prices, we don't really care. It was yesterday, Bitcoin S the bed all at once. And so again, these have never been great markets. April is not usually good. Well, you have a lot of very obvious things, like in America, you have tax season. People that are supposed to pay tax, whether they do or don't, April's not good for you. So I have seen where April has been kind of like a lackluster month. I've also seen that May, and again, doesn't mean whatever happened last year doesn't mean anything, but I've seen that typically May is pretty good. And then you get into the early days of summer and it gets nice and quiet. And then I would not be looking at historical charts to trade crypto, but there are certain moments throughout the year, tax filings, regulatory statements, things like that. Most of that stuff you can't factor into charts. This is why chart trading doesn't work, especially in crypto. Remember, illiquid assets on illiquid exchanges being traded by sketchy individuals, and the information is always asymmetrical, meaning goes one direction. Means we don't have it, someone else does. Like Coinbase was like, in order to prevent people front running trades, we're going to release, they did it last week, we're going to release all of the tokens in a letter that we might list on Coinbase. Cool. Except that someone front ran that trade by a day. So someone at Coinbase whispered to their friend, hey, here's the list. They got it early. This 100% happened. This is not open for speculation. They've already tracked the Ethereum wallet. And I'm sure it's somebody that knows somebody at Coinbase. And it's almost impossible. And guess what? That's not even insider trading because they aren't securities. And since they aren't securities, they don't fall into the 1934 securities law. Remember, insider trading is having knowledge about an equity or a security, and this is not that. So anyway, but it absolutely happened. Coinbase, somebody got information early, made trades early, already. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. They've already tracked the Ethereum wallets. So this is going to happen all the time. There's no way to stop it yet. It's probably going to keep happening all the time. There's no way to stop information asymmetry. But the cool thing about crypto is that if you're willing to read a lot and do your homework, you can at least make, you're not going to make those little pops like these people are making. But who cares? If somebody pulls a shenanigan and they make a bunch of money over here, or somebody buys a dumb JPEG, and let's be honest, the Bored Apes are dumb JPEGs. And let's be even more honest, they're all dumb JPEGs. There's no reason on earth any of these stupid, they're so stupid. I can say this because I own like an egregious amount of NFTs. I am stupid too when it comes to NFTs, but I make sure that it only represents a percentage of my portfolio. A small percentage, like right now it's like 7%, which is too much. It should be like 5 or less, because you should treat NFTs like lottery tickets. But most of these NFTs are completely useless. People are like, what I like it when people are complaining like, well, I hope that it's not going to be too expensive so I can get some. What are you talking about? What do you mean? You can just look at them. Yeah, but I want to own them. Why? So you can flip them? Then you don't give a crap about the art. You're just gambling. So the NFT space is all degenerate gambling. Pretty much 100% degenerate gambling. They can say, no, we're here for the artwork. We're here for we're here to flip. Everybody in the NFT space is here to flip. That's it. A bunch of rube celebrities came in and started signaling that they were woke AF, and the apes are worth a fortune, which is completely insane because the art is garbage. The community is, I won't even talk about that, but just the celebrity signaling nonsense, like it's all stupid, but it is what it is. So, don't treat your portfolio the way you would treat like the NFT space. Well, part of this weirdness in the NFT space gave way to like gaming, game tokens, GameFi, DeFi meeting GameFi, and all this kind of stuff. Is that going to change the world? Well, not really. It probably changed the way that video games are played, but I don't know. I mean, I guess you could argue that more and more video games are going to work their way into our normal life through like AR and VR and things like this, but that's pretty abstract, and you're really gambling. So you just have to just be honest with yourself if you're gambling. And this is why I think it's best to just reduce your stress and invest in infrastructure, and then let what happens happens. But if some guy over here wins, or some girl over here wins, or some whatever pronoun, they're part of some scam and they win, it doesn't affect you. You can still do really, really good. The fact that you're not participating in scams, some people are like, oh man, that's bull crap, it's unfair. Well, so what? Like, so what? People win the lottery. So what? And they found a hustle. Good for them. I'm not a hater. So, yeah. And the same thing, if I buy some NFT and it just skyrockets up in value, I got lucky, right? I didn't buy apes because the artwork is stupid. It's still stupid. And someone's like, would you buy one if they sold off and came down? No, because they're stupid. I just think they're stupid. I don't buy NFTs if I don't like the artwork. Period. 100% full stop. I like Fuocious, and I like Beeple, and I like Paul Jackson. I like Jonathan Thunder. Those, and I like Royland, and I like, who's my other favorite? There's like 5. But Fuocious, as far as artwork, is probably my favorite. So I buy his stuff. But I don't assume when I'm buying it that I'm going to make money off of it. I hope that I will, but I like the artwork. That's the way I rationalize it to myself. But is the real reason I'm buying it because I want to look at it? No, because I can look at it for free. So it's because I want to flip it. So if we're all being honest, we're buying JPEGs to flip them to other rubes. It is the embodiment of the greater fool. So, and I guess you could quasi make an argument for every one of these, but it doesn't have to be a greater fool. It might be somebody more intelligent. People that are selling any of these things, any of these assets, are selling because they think it's best for them to exit for one reason or another. Maybe they need cash, they got to put a new spleen, whatever, I don't know. But they're exiting, many of them, because they think it's run its course, right? If you're buying, you're forward pricing. Like, markets are a forward pricing mechanism. The price you see right now is the price where someone is willing to exit and someone is willing to enter. But the people entering are entering because they believe the price is going to get higher in the future. That's why they're entering. People that are exiting for one reason or another are over it. So keep these things in mind. It's not always so simple as price up and price down. And remember, illiquid assets on illiquid exchanges being chased and traded by sketchy investors, most of them with not the right information. And the retail markets that you see, this is not the markets. The OTC markets are the real markets, right? Very few institutional players. You got your hedgies and your insties, and mostly it's hedgies right now. They're not buying on Coinbase. They're not buying. A few do, so they can signal and say, "I bought," but mostly they're not. They're buying OTC, or they're swapping with other people, using a variety of mechanisms so that it doesn't bully the price. If you knew that Fidelity was buying $4 billion worth of Bitcoin, OTC, that might affect if they were buying it on the market, that would affect the market. Just buying into it would affect the market. But if they buy OTC over the counter at the back door of an exchange on the loading dock, or they swap into it, or they use a variety of other balance sheet machinations to get into a position, and you don't know about it, well, then retail Joe Sixpack doesn't go bid up the price or pull his sell orders. And when you see these giant sell walls, a lot of times it's people with a big bag They put up a big sell wall to scare Joe Sixpack into bailing. And as the price comes down, they buy right back in, and then they can ride it right back up, and they get to win. Or you can do it with leverage. You can do it with futures. You can do it with options. Everything is a rich man's game at some point. So it is what it is. Anyway, to sum up, price, it's not really a lot going on. Bitcoin's getting kicked in the softies, and everything else is too. So Bitcoin's down 3. Everything else wobbles more, obviously. But look, it's kind of, about 5.3, about 6, about 5.7, about 6.5. I mean, 6.8, 5.3, 7. You see the trend. Like, it's kind of obvious. Newnet actually spiked yesterday for a bit. It was up at over 5 cents. I was like, what? I've been adding. Now, for those of you really quick, Newnet registration. So if you have your AGIX, you will need to be doing your registration stuff. Come on, page. In 1 day and 18 hours, in 2 days. Okay, so that means you'll register. Then you can go to Singularity DAO. You will go to on the very top of the page. You click a button. Matter of fact, it looks like it doesn't matter. Anyway, at the top of the page, you'll go and you can collect your airdrop. So that's cool. But you have to register for it first. Okay, so and look at that. Read the white paper. You can actually read about what you're getting. I think Newnet's going to be great. I'm super excited about that. But that's for the future. Okay, Looks token, real quick. Don't buy it, man. Don't buy it. Look at it's down 70%. It should be probably down more. This thing's going to go well below $1 as we approach May 10th, 11th, 12th. Yeah, it's going to go. Why? Because they're readjusting the rewards. The rewards already are not so great. Well, they're not terrible. 202 is good, but it's not the 1,000 that it was 2 months ago. And it's not that's probably going to be, that's the compounding one, by the way. That's the pounder. The regular staking is going to be, let's see, 120. It's going to be about 30 or 40%, which is still good, but that's on an exchange that's pretty dangerous if we're being honest, because they're not, even though we love LooksRare and LooksRare is awesome, no one's really using it still. Everybody's using OpenSea because it is what it is. Anyway, and I've been following my Ferocious, my paint. One paint is still 0.4. So 0.4 on 3. It's not bad. It's not bad. 11, 1200. This is a bit lower, right? 11, 1200. It's not bad. So yeah, cool. All right. Let's go over and let's talk about Ethereum for a second. I mean, we don't care about gaming. Not yet. Okay, Ethereum hits 126 million in year-to-date outflows. All remain steady. Okay, what does that mean? Well, let me go into it. Investors pulled 134 million from cryptocurrency last week. Even amid Bitcoin 2022, the largest digital currency, posted an outflow of 131.8 million. People are taking money off the table. People are going to cash. A little bit. Well, maybe not a little bit. They're going to cash. So let me dig into it. Investors yanked 135 million from investment products in the crypto space last week, marking the second largest week of outflows of 2022. Well, tax filing day was what, 2 days ago? So I guess that makes sense. 3 days ago. According to data from digital asset investment firm CoinShares, trading volumes were low for investment products, trading 2.5 billion for the week versus the year average of 2.9 billion. So low trading and high outflows. So I think part of that was probably people tax harvesting. Part of it. There's the DNA of your aggregate investor right now is probably mostly retail, and that's why this tends to kind of track with retail markets. And remember, the Fed's going to raise. They have to raise. It has nothing to do with inflation at this point. They have to raise because they have to be seen doing something. And they don't do money, so all they can really do is raise and lower rates. They don't have anything else, and that doesn't affect much else. although it might start to put the brakes on the housing market a little bit, but probably not, because as Byron Gillian said, there's no housing market reserve, right? There's no big giant reserve of houses that can be dumped on the market, except that there actually is, because banks are not foreclosing. Banks are sitting on a lot of pre-foreclosures, and they just remodify these zombies that they just modify and modify and modify when people quit paying. So instead of foreclosing, because that costs money and you can't get into court anyway, they're just doing nothing. So there actually is a strategic reserve, like the oil, like the strategic release some reserves, drop the oil price down a little bit, help people at the pump. There is a strategic reserve of houses. It's the houses that the banks are not willing to foreclose on. They're doing this to maintain housing prices. You say, well, why would the banks care? Because banks have become the biggest owner. They're the landlords now. They own more houses than anyone else, banks and financial institutions, which that's a whole other sketchy argument that we probably should, that'll just anger people. So we're not going to talk about that, but there are tons of homes. And they say, oh, well, there's not enough houses. People are still, the market, it's anemic. They're not building enough. No, there's plenty of houses. Banks are just not foreclosing. They're keeping prices artificially high. It's bogus. It's garbage. At some point, the rubber hits the road. I just don't know when that is. I don't think anybody knows. That's another crash, another deep housing crash. And I guess banks are just like, well, we'll never foreclose on these. We'll just continue to roll them over. I guess you can kick that can down the road indefinitely. Because banks don't have losses, do they? Because they get backstopped by the Fed. And the Fed doesn't have losses because they don't have money. So they get backstopped kind of by the Treasury, but mostly they just screw banks over. You know that's mostly what the Fed does, is they give them these inert assets, bank reserves, and the banks are like, well, what the smoke am I supposed to do with this crap? And they're like, I don't know. They're like, well, we don't want it. So the banks end up trying to peddle them back to the Fed in reverse repos to get their collateral back. The whole thing's so stupid. Anyway, Bitcoin led the decline with 131.8 million in outflows, even as Miami's Bitcoin 22 conference dominated headlines. Bro, the Bitcoin conference is such a joke. What a bunch of rubes. That you want to see the biggest rubes on the planet, they come out for these Bitcoin conferences. I guess it's like that for any of these conferences. I wonder if everybody their skin is orange and they shoot laser eyes, and everybody's like chopped in half because everybody's laser eyes chopped everyone else in half, and it's just a bunch of people on the ground cut in half. Anyway, Bitcoin is under pressure as the bond market sell-off resumed, prompting a widespread selling of risky assets. Senior analyst at Oanda said the Bitcoin 2022 conference was more of a party, of course it is, than a game-changing event that will spur the next round of massive investment. Yeah, no one cares. No one looks at the Bitcoin conference and goes, ooh, cool stuff. Matter of fact, they couldn't even get their own messaging right. They were making stuff up at the conference, and like Forbes and stuff was like running with these stupid stories that were just completely made up at the event that had nothing to do with nothing. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it, but it was like a head of state that was just talking about the current climate, and they were like, they're going to make Bitcoin legal tender and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, no, I never said that. I never said anything like that. And they just kind of ran with it. And then Forbes was like, yeah, we got that wrong. Yeah, no doubt, because you guys are dummies. Anyway, Bitcoin is struggling as rising rates lead to a de-risking moment for many traders. And remember, you're seeing only a small amount of Bitcoin being traded. So don't let that disrupt your worldview of what you think the world's going to look like, months and years from now, right? There's only a tiny little amount of Bitcoin being traded, beep, 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 right? They already mined, there's less than 2 million Bitcoin left. And on exchanges, on all of the exchanges, there's less than 2 million Bitcoin. So think about that. So what you're seeing is a couple million Bitcoin bobbling around, and that's determining the price for the rest of the world. So don't let that dissuade you, and also don't let that make you, lead you to a decision you wouldn't otherwise make. Understand that most Bitcoin is parked on private wallets or parked in places like Nexo where it can be loaned or lent or borrowed against or collateralized for other, value propositions, right? But all 19 million Bitcoins not wobbling around. Plus, you have about 6 million Bitcoin lost, including the Satoshi wallet. If no one ever touches, if Adam Back leaves it alone and decides not to mine it, not to use it. So anyway, Bitcoin volumes do not suggest any significant stress among investors, with investment products comprising 7.6% of total Bitcoin volume, just above the 7% long-term average. However, overall Bitcoin volume remains lower than average at 2.3 billion a day versus 3 billion a day on trusted exchanges. Ethereum lost 15.3 million last week, putting the second largest cryptocurrency at 126 million in outflows so far this year. So a lot of people are going to the sidelines. And essentially, I think it remains. Now, keep this in mind. Other altcoins are posting inflows. Okay? So I think if we fast forward a year, there is a chance that maybe Ethereum's not the only game in town. There is a chance that people look at other assets. Let's get Ethereum up here. People look at other assets, even in the NFT space. So let's think about this little thought experiment. You go, okay, these other layer ones are competing with Ethereum. Cool. These other layer ones can do NFTs. Cool. These other layer ones can process transactions and the fees are tiny. Cool. What happens when Ethereum completes the merge? We think it's going to be July now because they pushed it off by a couple months, probably July, August, September. Let's say worst case September, they complete the merge. That'd be a psychological run up. But then you go, okay, wait, why have the fees not come down? Well, the fees have not come down because you're just taking the fees that you would have paid miners and you're transferring those to validators. But that's not, sharding hasn't occurred yet. That won't be till sometime late, maybe 2023. Let's be honest. They've never hit their marks ever, not once, not even close. Like by like half decades, they're off. So Ethereum has the merge in September. Woo woo. And then people see that the fees are still high and they go, crap, man, I'm over it. And the thing is too, you look at Ethereum, you say, well, is it now better than these other layer ones? And I think we're at a point where people are going to have a real come to Jesus with their own projects and say, does it make sense to continue to run and code on Ethereum and Solidity? Does that make sense? And I'm not sure it makes sense anymore. And after the merge, another round of people are going to go, crap, nothing changed. Well, what do we have to wait for now? Oh, well, next year, hopefully next year, sharding. Then the fees will come down. Okay, then let's fast forward to then. Now we got through sharding. Okay, awesome. Except the fees come down. It's clunky proof of stake. It's very weak because it wasn't built proof of stake. It was built proof of work and converted over. It's a lot of patchwork and kind of, duct tape and bubble gum and glue. They MacGyvered it versus all of these cutting edge Web3 kind of, or Web3 compliant or Web3 intuitive layer ones. And then you go, oh, maybe Cardano and Algorand and Near and Cosmos and even Polkadot make a lot more sense. And then you go, well, who on earth would be? So there's a bunch of points where you're gonna have to cross this psychological chasm with Ethereum. Does it make sense? Okay, the merge happens. Did the fees come down? Nope. Crap. Okay. Sharding happened. Did the fees come down? Yeah. But is Ethereum better than any of these other layer ones? Nope. Crap. And yet at the same time, all these other layer ones, these protocol layers, they're devising Ethereum converters, token converters, Solidity converters, And then you say, well, then other than the embeddedness of the NFT space, because it is the medium of exchange in NFTs, you don't talk price in Bitcoin. You don't even talk price in dollars. When you're trading NFTs, Ethereum is the medium of exchange. Might it just be that? Yeah, it might just be that. But when there's other options, should it be? And I think the answer is no. I don't think you should be locked to any one asset. It doesn't matter what I think, obviously, but it doesn't make any sense that we're handcuffed to a specific asset in the crypto space for anything at all. I should be able to go buy some NFT that's in the Cardano ecosystem with Bitcoin or Ethereum or stablecoin or anything else. I shouldn't be locked into any token, period, full stop. So this idea that a token dominates a niche is pretty stupid. It should be that infrastructure will start to permeate into niches where it makes the most sense based on the infrastructure. There are things where you might run transactions through Cardano and some through Algorand where you need certificating, and some through, I don't know why Ethereum, but maybe some through Ethereum. Like, you should be using the best technology to solve the problem that you have, even if that means many technologies to solve many problems that all seem like one problem. Jared, what's up, buddy? So, yeah, that's kind of where I am on that. Everybody's going to have to think about this. There's a lot of consideration that needs to be done. But my guess is Ethereum's stranglehold is going to erode and erode and erode. And I think other tokens are going to start to hunt it down through market cap, because as new players come into the space, as new industry and businesses, they're not building on Ethereum. They're just not. They're either doing their own thing, or they're spinning up their own networks, which I think is risky, or they're leveraging Cardano, Polkadot, Algorand, Near, Cosmos, maybe Avalanche, if they're stupid, Solana, right? They're going to do their research because they have hopefully, really smart people that they are going to do the research. I say that, then you have things like 2007, 2008, where you realize that maybe most people are asleep at the wheel. So it's like, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? So it is what it is. Anyway, I think everybody should start really considering whether Ethereum makes sense. So when am I going to exit? Well, I'm not going to fully exit, because until there's a meaningful competitor in the NFT space, and no, Solana ain't it, and really Matic is not it either, and Cardano is definitely not it. So until there's a meaningful competitor in the NFT space, I don't know that Ethereum's got much to worry about. But I know that new companies are very not like, it's not likely that a bunch of new companies are going to be deploying Ethereum-based thises and that's, because it's going to start to make too much sense to deploy in other places. I think a lot of enterprise business is going to go towards Algorand. I know that Africa and Central and South America, there's going to be a lot of deployment against Cardano, on Cardano. I think that Near is probably everything you could ever hope for out of Ethereum 2 is already in existence right now, this second, in Near. So it's like, well, what are you waiting for? So that said, I probably will start converting Ethereum gains, and I will distribute them back among the other protocol layers, because I'm still a little bit heavy Ethereum. I'm heavier Ethereum and Cardano, so I'm going to redistribute some of those Ethereum gains. My guess is right around the $4,000 to $5,000 mark, because I still think we get $4,000 to $5,000 with the enthusiasm and the excitement and the whimsy and the jubilance that comes with the merge. So I think Ethereum will have a good summer. But am going to be looking for places to scale back my Ethereum exposure and push it back into other protocol layers that, to me, make more sense for the future. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. All right. Do me a favor, everyone, today. Here's the favor I ask. I don't care if you like the video. It doesn't make it makes no difference. It's cool if you do, but it doesn't. No one wins. If you like it, if you dislike it, No one cares. Honestly, no one cares. No one looks at that crap. It doesn't make a difference. Maybe somebody at YouTube does, but whatever. However, if you can share the video on Twitter, that actually does seem to make a difference. So share the video on Twitter if you think that the people that follow you on Twitter or that you communicate with, because whatever reason, Twitter seems to be the place people go for good financial information, which is really bad. So share the video on Twitter, and perhaps it will find other people. And if you can just change one person, well, if one person watches even one part of it, and maybe they get one little thing out of it that keeps them from doing something stupid, that's a victory for all of us. Chris, what's going on? Detroit. Oh, man, God. That sounds cold and yucky. Sebastian, what's going on? So anyway, yeah, share to Twitter. And on that note, we will see. So tomorrow is an hour-long show on Money Map. Did I put it? Oh, you know what? I have to go back. I'll put in the description. I haven't put the links and stuff like that. I'll put the links in the description. But anyway, yeah, have a good one. Stay out of trouble. Don't do anything my poor insolvent drunk, strung on a meth grandmother wouldn't do. And as you know, that is very little. Well, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing that she won't do. And we'll see you on the next one.